Welcome again to another CheapWineFinder.com podcast. This is Domain Dave. And this is December and we're in party mode. And today we've got a Prosecco, a Mionetto Prosecco Treviso Brut. It's from one of the older Prosecco houses in the region. They were founded in the 1890s, switched over to the Charmat method. That's the second fermentation happens in an autoclave or a pressurized vat in only 1982. It's fairly recent. Gonna have a little sip and we're gonna get down to the basics here. This is the time of the season for Bubbly, and Champagne is a sparkling wine from the Champagne region in France. Prosecco is a sparkling wine from the Prosecco region in northern Italy. In Italy, it would also be called a Spumante, and in France, Champagne could be called a Crémant. But it's a sparkling wine in the good old US of A. And Champagne is from Champagne, Prosecco is from Prosecco, and never the twain shall meet, basically speaking. And what we have here is the Mionetto Treviso Brut. It's their baseline. This is their house style. With bubbly houses, and they've been around for 100 and whatever years, they have a house style, and they want to replicate. This is the non-vintage version, and they want to replicate it year in and year out. So when you go to the store to buy it, or you taste a few of them, you go, yeah, I remember that one. I like that one. I want to buy that one, and I want the same experience each and every time. And champagne houses are really good at that. You know, people want mums, people want dom, people want, it's because it's going to be what you want every time, except for vintage dated bubbly, and then that's going to be the best they could be that year. But that's going to be awful expensive too, or awfully expensive, not awful. Which brings us to the Mionetto. It's like they have like fancier ones. This is a DOC wine. That's the Department of Classification, I believe. Italy and most of Europe has wine regulators and DOC. And the top in Prosecco is DOCG. There's a couple of different sections, usually hilly areas where things are a little bit different. But I really have a hard time finding the difference, especially at this price range of DOC and DOCG, because they're all good. They both ferment the wine twice. This isn't like from the vineyard to your bottle. Things are happening here. I'm gonna take another sip, and they have their house style perfected here. There's a couple of things. It's mostly citrus, but there's some pear. There's some rounded fruit. There's maybe some dried pineapple, some even dried apricot. You don't get that sweetness, but you get that. And this is a dry wine. 2/3 of all Proseccos made in Prosecco are actually a little bit sweet. And because the Glera grape can use a little bit of sweetness to round it off, but the acidity kind of balances out the sweetness, so all you get is the rounder fruit flavor. But this is really good as a Brut wine. America's like Brut, or because Brut is more likely to be champagne. That's what we're used to, so that's what you get here, and it's really nice. And I was going on that it's a dry wine, so the initial flavors kind of hit your palate and then disappear. But what doesn't disappear has enough acidity to linger for a while, so you get this burst of flavor, then it kind of just lingers on, and it's like very attractive flavor. I mean, I imagine that's why Mionetto's so famous and been around forever, and it's popular. Another thing I was thinking about, because I went to the local big box wine shop. I went in the sparkling wine section, and it was kind of half empty. Usually bottles that are six bottles deep or 2 bottles deep, and there was holes here and there. And I'm thinking, and the prices weren't that good. You usually expect a lot of sales this time of year, and they weren't really happening quite yet. I mean, they might still come, but wines that you expect to be a little cheaper weren't. So I was thinking maybe I should start looking for tried and true affordable wines, and this is affordable and classy. This thing tastes great. I mean, I like champagne and I like Prosecco, and I don't really care about, the differences. I mean, if I'm in the mood for one, I want that. Mood for that, I want that. So, this is, I think I found this for under $10, and it looks great. It has that orange diagonal slash and the gold on top. I mean, it looks more expensive than it is. It has that Italian style to it, which is kind of nice. So you're just, maybe you don't want to pour this on New Year's Eve at the stroke of midnight, but it will look really nice on your table elsewhere. Also, it's not really a wine that you would have with a meal. I mean, you have cheese and that type of thing with it. But this is, before or after, an aperitif, as it were. I'm going to have another sip. So there you go. This is a really classy, flavorful, affordable, sparkling wine. Mionetto does a really good job with their wines. I like it. It is a wine that is definitely worth party season. It looks good. If you're pouring it, people aren't going to think, oh, that's inexpensive. They're going to think that's a nice bottle of wine. So that's it for me, Domain Dave. We were talking about the Mionetto Prosecco Treviso Brut. Treviso is a town where the vineyards are near. So that's where that comes from. So like us, like your podcast, if you will. We appreciate it. And I've got more coming up like we always do. We'll be fast and furious coming up to the holidays. And keep it cheap, stay safe and warm, and adios, bye-bye.